As I crossed the Bridge of Lions, the dawn sun cast a golden shimmer across the Matanzas River, its light dancing like sparks on the water. Memorial Day weekend always drew me to my cottage on Anastasia Island, my haven for over 20 years. The rhythm of the waves soothed my restless thoughts, and the briny air filled my lungs with life. With my small duffel and the familiar jingle of keys in hand, I anticipated nothing but the quiet I'd earned. But as I stepped onto the sandy path to my porch, the sight stopped me cold. 3 unfamiliar cars crowded my yard, their tires carving ruts into the grass I'd painstakingly nurtured. Children's shouts cut through the blare of music pouring from open windows. Damp, sandy towels were flung across my wicker chairs, and my cottage looked like a public beach house overrun by a holiday crowd. Karina, my daughter-in-law, stood in the doorway, my seashell-embroidered blue apron tied around her waist as if she owned it. Her eyes narrowed with a hostility that had sharpened since she married my son. "Why's the old leech here? There's no space for you," she snapped, her voice slicing through the noise like a blade. For a moment, the music and chatter seemed to hush, as if the house itself held its breath. Brennan stood behind her, one hand gripping the doorframe, his gaze fixed on the ground. Avoiding mine, his silence stung worse than her words. Humiliation burned in my chest, but I refused to let them see me crack. I forced a smile, one that stayed cold in my eyes. "That's all right, dear," I said softly, stepping back from the threshold. I wouldn't give them the spectacle they expected. As I turned, my eyes caught the chaos. My joy, nurtured through storms, lay crushed under children's feet chasing a ball on the balcony. A heavy-set man leaned against the railing, cigarette smoke curling into the salt air, souring it. Through the open kitchen door, the acrid smell of a scorched pan hit me, mingling with the clamor of 2 women arguing over spices. My polished tile floor was streaked with muddy footprints. Karina moved among them, her smile that of a hostess claiming my space. A cousin's voice carried, loud enough to wound. "That's the seamstress. Thought she'd be more grand." Laughter followed, their eyes raking over my simple dress and worn shoes, each chuckle a needle in my skin. Across the street, Captain Reeves stood by his gate, his Coast Guard bearing evident in his steady posture. He caught my eye and mouthed, "You okay?" I wanted to raise a hand, to signal for rescue, but pride held me still. I gave a slight shake of my head. "Now?" Karina glanced back, her smirk deepening, as if she sensed the exchange and reveled in my exclusion. This was her domain now, and I was the intruder. I walked away, gravel crunching underfoot, my silence a shield. The road to town stretched long under the rising heat. At a modest inn on a 1A, I took a room, its beige walls dull but offering control a rarity since I'd arrived. I set my bag on the bed, pulled out my phone, and uploaded photos. The cars scarring my lawn, the trampled flowers, the cigarette smoke tainting my balcony. From my worn leather journal, I recorded each license plate, Karina's words, "Leech," no space, and the exact time they were spoken. "Evidence, not anger," I whispered, steadying my trembling hands. I drew a faded Polaroid from my wallet, Brennan at 20. Paint smudged on his cheek, grinning as we coated the cottage's walls in cream stucco. "Mom, this house is proof we survived," he'd said, his voice bright with youth's certainty. Now, that same boy stood mute as his wife branded me an outsider. I traced his face in the photo, the ache in my chest, sharp but giving way to a colder resolve. My smile on the porch hadn't been surrender, it was strategy. They thought I'd retreated, but I was regrouping. At dawn, I returned, requesting only medicine and a few clothes. Karina's sister opened the door, irritation plain. She said, "You can get your pills," she muttered, stepping aside as if granting a favor. Inside, my home felt fried food and smoke overwhelmed the familiar scent of sea and wood. My footsteps echoed on grimy tiles. The house no longer mine, upstairs. My bedroom was a wound, my clothes stuffed into garbage bags, my hand-stitched quilt soiled by 2 sleeping children, their sneakers streaking sand across it. In the bathroom, black hair dye stained the sink. My embroidered towels ruined in a heap. I photographed it, all the bags, the bed, the sink, each image a thread in a growing tapestry of proof. My hands shook, but I steadied them. In a hidden closet cubby, known only to me, I found a document I hadn't written, a physician's report, stamped and signed, claiming I suffered from diminished capacity due to age and health. I'd never met this doctor. My name was twisted into a lie, on the vanity. Karina's distinctive handwriting filled a notepad, a local attorney's name, notes about deed transfer and capacity. Claim. My pulse steadied with purpose. This was no accident, but a calculated betrayal. I slipped the papers into my bag. The next day, I drove north on S1 to Jacksonville, the stolen documents heavy in my purse. At the bank, Mr. Wilcox, the manager, greeted me with concern. I requested a letter confirming my decades of independent account management. He provided it on letterhead, a shield against the false claim. "No one can dispute this," he said. Then, I met Nia Hightower, an attorney recommended by Reeves, her sharp eyes assessing the photos, forged report, and notepad I spread across her desk. "This is not just cruel, it's illegal," she said, outlining a plan, an owner's affidavit to evict the intruders, a theft report for my missing jewelry, a medical board complaint for the fraudulent report, and an injunction to protect my property. "But understand," she warned, "this will break ties with your son." I nodded. His silence had already severed them. Tuesday morning, the Florida heat pressed down as I parked behind Nia's car. 2 deputies, body cameras blinking, joined us, along with a locksmith and a process server. Karina stood on the porch, shouting, "My husband allowed this." As children peered from the windows, Nia handed over my deed, tax receipts, and affidavit. Her voice calm. "Mrs. Calder is the sole owner. These people are here unlawfully." Deputies photographed the damaged broken drawers, scattered mail, an empty jewelry box. Brennan arrived, his shirt rumpled, eyes darting. "Mom," he started, voice thin. I placed the forged report and notepad in his hands. His face paled. "Enough, Karina," he said, pulling free as she clutched his arm. The deputies worked efficiently, clearing the house. The locksmith handed me new keys. My cottage was mine again, but the weight of the cost lingered. Karina's sister later returned, my mother's pearls in a velvet pouch. As if stealth could erase the theft, I thanked her for returning what was mine, nothing more. The medical board began investigating the false report after Nia's complaint, and I provided a detailed statement. Brennan visited alone, hands in pockets, pleading, "We can fix this, Mom, no lawyers. Just family." I told him family was built on respect, not just blood, and his silence had spoken louder than Karina's insults. I'd placed the cottage in a trust for a scholarship fund and sea turtle rescue. He left, wordless. Repairs followed, new locks, Cameras, hurricane shutters, geraniums replanted with Reeve's steady hands. The house stood quieter, stronger, its boundaries clear. Each evening, I sat on the porch as pelicans skimmed the air clean with salt and sea. A letter from Brennan arrived, his apology vague, sidestepping the forged papers and stolen heirlooms. I filed it away, unanswered. The porch light glowed nightly, not for others, but for me a vow. Strength is quiet, like the tide, retreating only to return. Age isn't weakness. Silence isn't surrender. Tomorrow would bring what was earned, whether regret or respect. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comment section. Your voice matters.